Hello everyone, I am James Milan and this is the Town Hall Update. I am joined here in studio at ACMi by Jim Feeney, our town manager. We love that Jim likes to come into the studio for these, and so again, as always, really happy to welcome you in.
Thank you, James. Great to be here as always.
You know, I want to tell our audience, we say this kind of thing all the time. Oh, we have lots to talk about. This is a lot to talk about today. We've got more or less 8 topics. I'm going to go through them very quickly, and then we're going to start with Charlie Lyons and a recognition of Charlie Lyons. But we've got a special town meeting coming up in October to talk about. We have special election on November 7th. We have the Mass Ave Appleton Safety Project update. We've got playground renovations to talk about, grants that Arlington has received, MBTA communities update, and then a pilot program regarding street sweepers. So all of that still to come. I hope you took a deep breath before we started. But let's start with Charlie Lyons, who I know is a kind of a giant on this scene. I've only been involved myself for the last 10 years, but he was already quite an eminence at that point.
Agreed. And I find myself quite unfortunate that I didn't have the opportunity to know Charlie personally, but from what I understand, he was sort of a larger than life figure in local politics. So it is certainly worth remembering him. I believe he was the youngest ever elected member of the school committee at 18 years old, and then went on to serve on what we now call the select board for 24 years, which is just a remarkable tenure. And then similarly had a long tenure serving as the superintendent of the Shawshene Valley Technical High School. But in terms of his legacy in Arlington, as I understand it, and as everyone speaks so favorably of him, is that he really had an impact on the trajectory of the community, and you know, has played certainly a role in making Arlington the desirable place to live that it is today. I think there are 2 particular things worth calling out that really are a firm part of his strong legacy, and that is that he was one of the, engineers or architects, if you will, of the debt exclusion movement, some 25 years ago, to renovate all of Arlington's elementary schools at the time, really solidifying our school system and its sort of place in the bigger picture in the Commonwealth. And then similarly impactful event was when, the town had started to experience population loss over a number of years, and that subjected the community to either sort of downgrade or loss altogether of our community development block grant funding. And Mr. Lyons, not just through his Massachusetts contacts, but his national contacts, was able to ensure that Arlington maintained all of that funding, and in doing so, over the past 25 years or so, he essentially restored some $30 million to the community, ensuring that never went away. So those impacts to the community are really quite tangible, and we hope he rests in peace, but we thank him again for his dedicated service to the community.
Yeah, that is stunning, and the sheer frequency with which we talk about CDBG grants here in town and what they are doing and the impact they have directly on people's lives here in town. That alone, the fact that he played such an instrumental role in resuscitating or saving those funds for us, that's really quite something. So, yeah. As you say, rest in peace. All right, moving on. We are going to talk about special town meetings coming up no time, right?
October 17th. When we first set the date, it seemed like it was so far off in the distance, but it'll be here before we know it. Obviously starting on a Tuesday this year, which is a bit unique, where the first week will be going a Tuesday, Thursday cycle, and then returning to the normal Monday, Wednesday schedule until completion of the warrant. This year, the warrant is shaping up to be mostly zoning bylaw amendments. There are 9 warrant articles that I would classify as sort of general purpose zoning bylaw amendments for different points throughout the zoning bylaw, and then there are 2 warrant articles related to the MBTA Communities Overlay District, which I know has drawn a great deal of interest in the community. I think the update I would offer on that is that the redevelopment board did meet this past Monday in what was, as I understand, a bit of a marathon meeting ending.
Absolutely. Speaking on ACMi's behalf, it certainly was.
Ending shortly before midnight. And I know they made some pretty substantive changes and took a final vote on what their proposed plan will be, and it will be getting incorporated into their report to special town meeting, which should be available sometime early next week. So I would invite folks to visit the town's website and see what those changes are and what the impact will be for the community. And we look forward to getting the debate and discussion underway with town meeting.
All right. Yes. Here we are in the fall, and people are going to be hard at it again. Just want to take a moment to recognize how much volunteer energy this town runs on. And from town meeting members who will convene on October 17th and take care of the business for however long it takes, to those committee members and people in the audience, et cetera, who were there on Monday night to see this ARB kind of through. And just in every direction you look at, this place really depends on people committing their time and effort. So just want to appreciate all of you folks out there doing that.
Truly makes Arlington unique in that regard.
Yeah. So we've got also, everybody's aware that in 2024, there's going to be a rather significant election coming up here in town and in the country, et cetera. But there's one as well, special election here on November 7th of 2023.
Sure. Thank you for bringing that up. The special election, as you said, is on November 7th. Polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. I do believe residents should be getting in their mailbox now sort of vote by mail applications if they're registered voters. If you're not yet registered to vote, I just want to remind folks that October 28th would be the deadline to do so in order to participate in that November 7th special election. So we do have 2 ballot questions this year for consideration. The first of which pertains to a Proposition 2.5 operating override in the amount of $7 million to support the school and town operating budgets on an annual basis moving forward. And then the second ballot question pertains to a means-tested senior citizen property tax exemption. So the language for both of those ballot questions is available on the town website on the elections page, and we'll have some additional information for how to understand further what those impacts may be for individual residents available on the town's website early next week as well. So I know it's still a ways off, but the information in a more detailed manner will be available soon, and we invite folks to review those materials and don't hesitate to reach out if they have any questions.
And here's a familiar topic, of course, the Mass Ave Appleton intersection and the safety project coming out of, as we've talked about before, the tragedy of the biker's death some years ago. I understand that a serious step forward has been taken, so please update us.
Right, thank you for that. And also thank you for raising the important history of why, we were undertaking such a transformational project. But as you alluded to, the Mass Ave Appleton Corridor project, which stretches along Mass Ave from Richardson to Burton, was before the Select Board again on September 11th. And they did take a vote to approve a final concept design that introduces traffic signals at both the Appleton and Forest intersections, would implement what are called cycle tracks, as well as a number of other pedestrian safety features throughout the corridor. So with that vote, we can now advance beyond the concept design process and sort of turn our consulting engineers loose on developing the necessary engineering and construction documents to get this to be a shovel-ready project. Our plan is to have that done before spring of 2024 so that we can be able to submit to what's called the MassWorks grant program. And this obviously will be a significant project on the order of, multiple millions of dollars. So we're hopeful to be submitting as strong a grant application as process, and we'll have, a number of opportunities to review the design while it gets developed. And with that, if we are successful in achieving the grant, we would hope that we'd be able to move towards construction sometime in the 2025 season. So, I just offer my sincere thanks to not only the Department of Planning and Community Development generally, but specifically to our new senior transportation planner, John Alessi, for helping pick this project up as a new employee and move us across the finish line.
Well, thanks for setting out that whole timeline. We've got a pretty good track record with writing good grants and effective grants, which we'll talk about in a minute. So let's hope that continues. Jim, I almost want to give you a chance to take a breath, because I got to let you know, we're only about halfway through the agenda here. So let's keep moving. There are playground renovations, a couple of them, I think, for you to tell us about.
Sure. We do have a couple upcoming playground renovations, but I think it would be great if we could pause for a moment and recognize the fact that in over just the past year, maybe year and a half, that the town has been able to renovate 6 playgrounds, including 5 at schools, Hardy, Pierce, Bishop, Stratton, and Parmenter, as well as the playground at Spy Pond Park. So, some combination of CPA grants, town capital funding, but as well as using ARPA funding to support 3 of those renovations really got us back on track. We have a number of playgrounds that otherwise their renovation and replacement would have been deferred many years, but they were certainly in need. So it was sort of a monumental task, if you will, for our recreation director, Joe Connolly, as well as the Park and Recreation Commission, to undertake these renovations and all the public input processes that go along with it, and the number of additional public meetings. So kudos for them for getting all of this additional work done in such a short period of time on what are really impactful projects. And then looking ahead, we do have 2 more playground rebuilds on the docket, including Parallel Park and Menotomy Rocks Park. So I'll just plug that the Park and Recreation Commission will be doing 2 on-site public input sessions on October 14th. Starting at Parallel Park at the intersection of Parallel and Medford Streets from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on October 14th, and then picking up again at Menotomy Rocks Park over on Jason Street between 12 p.m. and 2 p.m. So if you live in the neighborhood, utilize these assets. The Park and Recreation Commission would love for you to come out. They want your input.
Anybody casually moving through town knows how well used our playgrounds are. It's just, it is clearly the kind of infrastructure that both defines the town, but that people absolutely take full advantage of. So,
agreed.
Well done to Mr. Connolly and the rec department, and I'm sure we'll be enjoying these for a long time. So we mentioned in relation to the Mass Ave Appleton project that you might be pursuing a grant in the future. Let's talk about our successful grant process.
So we've been off to a good start this fall. Obviously, we are very active in trying to get our hands on any dollars that we can that will come from outside of the community. So we did receive good news recently on 2 state grant opportunities. We're not strangers to either one. The first of which is the Green Communities Grant Program. We've received our 12th grant, this one for about $100,000, which will now bring us to over $2 million cumulatively from this particular grant program that intends to help us reach our sustainability goals. This round, we'll be receiving funding for energy efficiency and electrification projects at 3 buildings in our portfolio. The first of which is the Jarvis House, which houses our legal department. We'll be able to do some insulation and air source heat pump installations over there. the Dallin School, we'll be able to finish retrofitting the remaining non-LED lighting in the building to more energy efficient and less maintenance intensive LED lights. And then finally, the building we're sitting in today. We're hoping to finish the electrification of the heating system here at 85 Park Ave, home of ACMi. So that will take on the first floor of the building. One thing to note that it doesn't just stop at Green Communities grant funds. We will also be eligible with these projects for different rebates and incentives through either National Grid or Eversource, depending on who the utility provider is. So we expect, they will pick up another 18% or so of the total project costs. So, kudos again to the Department of Planning and Community Development, but specifically Talia Fox for leading these efforts and leading us to yet another successful Green Communities Grant Award.
I remember talking about the Green Communities Grant Awards when it was just one or two that we had gotten way back, a number of years with one of your predecessors, Adam Chapdelaine, and thinking, oh, this is great. No way was I thinking that this was just going to keep on building as a stream to support this kind of build out of great green infrastructure here.
It has indeed put us ahead of the curve.
Yeah, absolutely. So was there another grant you wanted to talk about? Or?
There is. So we also received what's called the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness 2.0 grant. So this is another state grant, which we call the MVP grant, to update our climate change resiliency plan. And that was in the amount of $95,000. So that will provide us the funding that we need to update our existing plan that we put in place with an earlier MVP grant, but also implement a community-led seed project. That particular project is still to be determined. We just were notified of this grant, but again, kudos to Department of Planning and Community Development, but specifically our conservation agent and environmental planner, David Morgan, for submitting for this grant and leading us through this process as it takes off.
Yeah, great situation to be in, have the money and just have to figure out how to use it. That's great. Okay, believe it or not, we've gotten to the last item on our official agenda, though I think you might even have something to add after that. Who knows? Anyway, we want to talk about the Street Sweeper pilot program.
Sure. So street sweeping is something that we've heard about over the years of just someone just wanting to be notified in a more timely manner or a more specific manner, right? Like, when are the street sweepers going to be in my neighborhood or on my street, as opposed to receiving some general or more generic notice that the program is underway and that we're going to proceed route by route. So through Joan Roman, who's our public information officer, we're expanding the use of the Arlington Alerts system. We're now able to geo-target or geolocate messages to specific streets and specific neighborhoods by drawing particular maps. So if someone is enrolled in our Arlington Alert system, we can send them a text message or email the day before the sweepers will be in their neighborhood, so they can make sure they don't have anything that might impact that curbside, that they won't be parked in the area, because all those things impact this successfulness of the sweep, right? If you have to pull off the curbside to go around something, whatever debris is there is going to remain. So we would invite folks to go to arlingtonma.gov/ArlingtonAlerts to create an account if they haven't done so already. And if you have, update your existing profile so that you can receive email and text message alerts in a very timely manner, very specific to your particular household or street. And if, of course, you are already receiving that type of message from the town, then you don't need to do anything else, and we'll let you know when the street sweepers are coming.
All right. Excellent. Just a nice little cherry on the top of all of what we've talked about today. That's it for me, but anything else as far as you're concerned you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I think, I know last time we were here, we talked about Town Day being right around the corner, but obviously Town Day has passed, and I think we owe it to the community to thank them for coming out in numbers on a day that otherwise didn't have a particularly great forecast. But nevertheless, the weather held off for most of the day. The community really did come out in force, and we had another great and successful town day. I certainly think it was highlighted by the ribbon cutting and sort of demonstration of our new electric school buses. But beyond that, on behalf of the town, I want to extend my thanks to ACMi again for their support of the event and just the great coverage of the event as always, and helping to not only MC the event, but provide for the entertainment and help with the setup. Folks don't understand exactly how much goes into that. I've seen it firsthand, and kudos to all the folks here for their participation.
Well, thank you very much for that. And on behalf of ACMi, I will say it is the most exhausting and exhilarating day of the year for us, and this was no exception to that. And really, as you say, the crowds really came out, and none of us were expecting necessarily that it would be as successful as it was and just last as long as it did. That said, it didn't quite last as long as scheduled, right? Because the fireworks had to be postponed. And I understand you've got some news about that.
Sure. So we did postpone the fireworks from Town Day night to what would be this Saturday at 7:30 p.m. But
So
alas,
this Saturday is October 7th.
October 7th, correct. But again, we're looking at perhaps some pretty good downpours that evening. So tomorrow morning, Friday, we're going to be we will be receiving sort of an hour-by-hour forecast and making the call as to whether or not weather conditions will allow the fireworks to happen on Saturday, or if perhaps we need to use our rain date, which is Saturday, October 14th. So there will be an update posted to the website, sort of before noon tomorrow. So if folks are interested, check in. It will be right there on the banner on the homepage.
Great.
And with that, speaking of Town Day, I guess we'll see you on September 21st of 2024. The Select Board has set the date for next year.
All right, we're already working on it here at ACMi.
Great.
And is that in fact, are we done?
I would say one more plug for
Okay.
the Arlington Fire Department. They are having an open house on October 14th from 12 to 2 p.m. at the Central Fire Station, located sort of nestled in Broadway Plaza at the intersection of Mass Ave and Broadway. So the community is all welcome and invited to go down and check it out.
Well, Jim, I know you have more than half of your workday still to go, but I think you better take a break after this for at least a short while, because that was quite the download of information, and we really do appreciate it. Hopefully, you all out there are feeling quite well informed after this very comprehensive town hall update. Jim Feeney has joined us. He is our town manager, and he knows what's going on, as you can tell if you've listened for the last, 20 minutes now. This is the Town Hall Update. Jim Feeney, our town manager, has visited us here in the studio. We appreciate his time. We appreciate yours. I'm James Milan. We'll see you next time.